Well, GET family, good morning and praise the Lord. This is the day that the Lord has made, and you know what we're going to do. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it, but not just because it's Sunday. This is no ordinary Sunday. This Sunday, today, we're celebrating 55 years.
Amazing. So to all of our GET family, past and present, and to our guests joining us today, you're in for a treat. But before we get started, Nissan, how about you lead us in a word of prayer?
I think I can do that.
Okay.
Everybody, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for protection. We thank you, Father, for all of our family members and all of those that we've been in contact throughout the last 55 years. We just give you praise, first of all, for allowing your grace and favor to be with Greater Emmanuel Temple, or Emmanuel Temple, from when it started back in September of 1965, and yet we're still here, September 2020. We give you praise and glory. I'm asking today that as we come together, the Emmanuel Temple or the Greater Emmanuel Temple family, I pray, Father, that we will have wonderful memories, Father, as we share in this experience. And Father, I pray that you will touch somebody, that they will understand the value and importance of ministry, Father, and that somebody today will be inspired to give their life to you. We thank you for your goodness and your mercy and your kindness and for what you're going to do in this service today. And we give your name praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, it is an exciting time for us here at Greater Emmanuel Temple because in 1965, 55 years ago, wait a minute, that just brought up a thought. This would not be a real Greater Emmanuel Temple anniversary if I didn't give honor to Deacon Douglas Dennis, the master usher, because what he would do during anniversary was this. He'd say, 55 years ago, the Lord told Carl, let's go. You got a little work to do. You got to take Sister Janet too. Go ahead. I know y'all, some of y'all know, if you've been a part of Greater Emmanuel or Emmanuel Temple, that's what Deacon Dennis would do. But hey, this is going to be an amazing day, so I want you to get your watch parties going, share, like.
Hold on. Just tell everybody to tune in right now. They do not want to miss this.
Right now. But before we go any further, let me tell you, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be a great ride today, sharing with friends. But before we even go to the next thing, we have to go to our wonderful choir and our wonderful music ministry that's going to take us back. Y'all get ready for the GET Music Ministry.
Let's go.
Praise the Lord, GET. Happy 55th church anniversary. We come to celebrate. I got the choir with us. Whatever you need from the Lord, call him up and tell him what you want. Now clap your hands right here. Put your choir robe on. Put your t-shirt on. And let's celebrate God. Come on.
Hey GT fam, I'm Carl III, and I'm standing in front of the first building established by Emmanuel Temple. As you can see, I'm here at 4104 South Main Street, and when this building was purchased in 1965, it was not in perfect condition. So with the background of construction, my grandfather came together with a group of people and put this building in the proper position where it should be to establish and serve the community. The first service was September 5th, 1965, and during that time, the Watts riots were occurring. And during that time period, people were protesting and rioting for social injustice. We are here today fighting for the same rights to today. My grandfather was here supporting the community spiritually and at times financially to get through these tumultuous times. The great thing about it is because this church was established to serve the people and help the people, this building was not damaged at all during the Watts riots. So he had a vision, a big vision.
Well, everybody, before we were known as Greater Emmanuel Temple or GET, we were simply known as Emmanuel Temple Church. And I want to take you back to day one. So we have called upon I know there's a few of you out there. We have called on one of my favorite people in the entire world, someone who is befitting for this time to share with us day one, the very first service at Greater Emmanuel Temple. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I am excited to introduce you to Miss Rebecca Price. Thank you so much for coming on, Rebecca.
I'm honored, Nissan.
It was 1965. Greater Emmanuel Temple or Emmanuel Temple Church at the time was established. What I remember is Carl and Carla tell me, because that was the year that the riots happened in Los Angeles. And they tell me that my mother had went to the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World Convention. They stayed while my father was getting everything ready for the opening of the church. And Carl tells stories about them seeing people going down the street with couches and things. And there was a lot of rioting, a lot of unrest in the city. But my father had a mission to continue and start the church, even in the midst of that. He stood out there. He wanted to have something in the heart of Los Angeles on Main Street to be a blessing to that community. And you were there on day one. So talk about leading up to that and talk about that first service. Because I've never heard any of this. I'm excited to hear this.
Well, I have the story to tell.
Give it to us, Rebecca.
Now, we were, like you said, on Main Street, and that was on September the 5th. Day one was September the 5th, 1965. Wow. And when Elder Stewart was searching out to find a building, because we stayed at the home church until he found a building. And when I tell you he found a building, it was the most pitiful, messed up building, little storefront that I could even imagine. And I said to myself, because I wouldn't dare rain on his parade, and I said, this is not Elder Stewart. Minister Stewart, I said, this is not him. He had impeccable taste. And so we went and we worked in that little church, just sweeping it up and getting it ready for him to paint and do things. And the transformation of that little storefront was absolutely amazing. Wow. His taste was so impeccable. In fact, I remember now that Mother Lewis, before we even had day one, Mother Lewis, when he found the building, the storefront, Mother Lewis said to Janet, she said, I'm going over there and look at that building. And you know, Mother Lewis, she said, oh, no, you can't move into something like this. So about 2 Sundays into the church, the finished church, Mother Lewis came on dedication Sunday when we dedicated. So she said, on her remarks, she said, you know, I went over and looked at this place, and she's looking all around, and everything is so beautiful now. And she said, I said to myself, could any good thing come out of Nazareth? And she said, yes, a good thing came out of Nazareth. Wow. So that little storefront, as meager and as humble as it was, Elder Stewart just took it to another level. Wow. Now it was a small, kind of small in the front, but then there was a little annex in the back. It was joined onto the storefront, and we made that the fellowship hall, and we had a steel baptismal pool. I don't know where that thing came from, but it was like a tin pool. But many souls got baptized. I think Buster and Lonnie were the first 2 young people that got baptized in that pool.
Wow, wow, amazing,
Yes.
amazing. So the first service leading up to it, was there any nervousness that you remember before that very, very first service? What was the mood of my father and mother, if you can recall?
He was a little apprehensive, even though he felt that the Lord told him this is the place. And so there were 2 missing ingredients, and I think that's what probably bothered him the most. He at first didn't have a location, that was missing, and then he did not have vineyard workers. So you just can't open up a ministry and, you could do it with just your family, and that's almost what it was. Because on that first Sunday, now this is not the dedication service, but on the first Sunday there was no one there but his family, which consisted of himself, Sister Janet, Buster, and Carl. I should say Carla and Buster. Yeah. And then it was my family, which consisted of Lonnie, my oldest, and the twins, Ned and Netta.
And that's all.
And that's all that was there on that first service.
Was there any music in the first? Did my mother play the piano or anything, or was no music?
And I'm trying to think I think we did have a piano, because later on Sister Alexander became the pianist for the church. Okay. But your mother, of course, always played, and so I think we did have a piano. Later on, we got a much better piano. Okay. But it sufficed us for that time.
So 2 families.
Yes.
Day one, just
Day
2
one.
families.
Day one.
Do you? This may be a tough question. Do you remember what my father preached that first sermon?
I wish I could.
I know that's a long time ago, but
Right.
that's, then of course in those times, and even in the beginning, I'm sure they weren't taping and recording like they are now. And God bless my father's soul. I wish I could ask him, what was your first message that you preached? But whatever was preached that first Sunday, it had to be something in him and in my mother, them together to want to continue. Yes. And they continued the next Sunday. And then the dedication service. Tell me about the dedication service.
Yes, and one thing I left out, but it'll lead into the dedication. He was minister steward when we were at the home church. But before we had the first day, he went to the council, PIW council, and they ordained him. Okay. And that's when he became elder steward. Okay. And so he went from minister steward to elder steward. So he was an elder on the first day. Now, a lot of people have gotten it mixed up because they see different pictures from the dedication Sunday. And it was only about maybe 2 or 3 Sundays later. Right. But his sermon, you asked me about his first sermon. I remember it was very short, because he was preaching to the choir, and so it wasn't that many. But it was short, and he was giving thanks. I remember we just had a prayer of thanksgiving for the Lord blessing us with the little storefront that had been transformed. But we get the dedication service with pictures mixed up with the first Sunday.
Got you. So the dedication, Bishop Bowden, did he come and dedicate the church?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
wow,
Bishop
amazing.
Bowden was there, Mother Lewis, in fact, the whole Lewis family, which they had such an influence on your dad, and that's one of the reasons he was able to transform from, working with the Buick cars into contracting. Yeah. And they taught him just like the Lewis generations are teaching Carla's son. Yeah. So he's into construction, so it runs in the family. God blessed us because I always say it, and no glory to us, but God used us. And the church growth, the foundation of that growth started on 4th Avenue. Wow. 4th Avenue was almost like an extension to the church on Main Street. Wow. And we started bringing young people. We would get on and my children would witness to their little friends about being saved. And young people were coming over, getting the Holy Spirit in my garage. And we'd bring them to church. And I think one of Sister Carla's daughters said, be sure to tell about the car where you'd bring the children.
Yes.
And so,
I heard the many stories about
many
the
stories
car.
about the car. We, now this, I have a list here of the children. Now this is all on 4th Avenue.
Wow.
We had Jonathan Mosley.
Yes.
Jonathan was a little snotty-nosed boy, ran the streets and didn't go to church. So I asked his mother if we could bring, she said, yes, if you can get him to go, because he won't go with me. And she would come to our church for everything that Jonathan was doing.
Wow.
She was so happy to have him in church. Then we had the Keith family that moved next door to us on 4th Avenue. We moved from your mother and dad's first home on Van Ness to 4th Avenue.
Yes.
And God was in that move because he knew that the children, what did they say? A little child shall lead them.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit spoke to my spirit and said, if you get the children, don't worry about the adults and the parents. Get the children and you'll get the parents.
Yes.
And so my children started bringing their friends, and I started ministering to some of the young people because they would all hang out at our house. You know, our home was the hangout home. And so these are the names of the young people that came from 4th Avenue. Jonathan Mosley, Kathy Keith, Calvin Keith, Michael Keith. Then we had Danny Lewis, Sandy Lewis, Jean Lewis, Gregory Lewis, Michael Brown, Cheryl Brown, Robert Jackson, Michael Jackson, and Brother Jackson. Now that's another story. Do I have time to sidetrack there? All right. After Robert and Michelle started coming, and they both got saved.
You talking about Deacon Jackson?
I'm talking about Deacon Jackson. Just like he was then, before he got saved, he became greater. He was like Paul.
Yes.
He became greater and became one of the pillars of the church.
Definitely, I love Deacon and Sister Jackson.
All right, now one of the other things, because I have to give honor to whom honor is due, and even though your dad has done his work and has passed on, there's a lot of honor that is still due to him. We would not be sitting here today if it was not for Elder Stewart. When the church started growing, he decided it's time for me to get up and get out and start looking for another place. And this time he didn't go to a storefront. He went to the church. And he said, Sister Price, he said, you know, we need more money. He said, because it's going to cost us more. We're growing, but, you know, we need, so he put me on the committee for collecting money. And so we needed the new front doors. Now, you know, he wants some nice front doors.
You're talking about on
48th Street. 48th Street.
Yes.
Yeah. So this was like 7 years later. So when we moved to 48th Street, and he came to me about the doors, he said, Sis Price, I'm doing pretty good financially with everything, but I don't have enough money for the doors. He said, can we start a fundraiser. And I said, well, Stuart, let me see if I can find somebody that would donate. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Bill's Tacos.
Yes.
All right, Bill's.
I was just asking somebody about Bill's the other day because are they still open?
They're there on Crenshaw and
That was a good time. We knew
Yes.
my dad, we were good.
the
when my
good
dad
old
took us
days.
to
Bill's
Tacos.
and your dad really thanked Mr. Bill himself.
So Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill is the one that bought those front doors.
Really?
Mr. Bill.
Wow.
And he came to the grand opening. Those were the doors he purchased for us. He gave us the money. Elder Stewart knew what kind of doors he wanted.
Yeah.
And so he was so nice to do that for us. But it just shows you the Lord always has a ram in the bush for you. And Bill was very nice. He attended some of the services. And so I said, you know, the Lord knows how to reward those that really help his people.
I know, because my dad and mom, I remember they talk about you so much and appreciate you so much. And you are one of our pillars. Over the past few months, we've been acknowledging Greater Emmanuel Temple pillars. And we acknowledge you and are going to acknowledge you even more. Because if it had not been for you as playing your part, following the lead of God to come and to leave when you did, like you just said, as a scaffold.
It was just a working of the Lord that he used us as a scaffold. Yeah. And I always use that example because you have to take that scaffold out when the building is complete.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, Aunt Rebecca, I'm just so thrilled and honored. You took my mind back to a place that I wasn't born yet, 65, and just through those years. But again, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for coming. Everybody show some love to Aunt Rebecca, Sister Rebecca Price. Well, as Sister Price said, it wasn't long before the church began to grow and flourish. And I'm so excited that today we have some of the early members of Greater Emmanuel Temple from Main Street and some of the new members at 48th Street. So today, you all got to be excited about this. We have Paulette Ginyard, we have Ursuline Beavers, we have Dr. J. Jonathan Mosley, we have Deacon Ford Hunt, we have Darnisa Staten Tyler, and we have Joy Germain, all in the building. This is Greater Emmanuel Temple history. So Jonathan, let me ask you this. Going from, you were there on Main Street, so just talk about a little bit of that when you first came.
The one thing that I will always remember was the baptism, because we used to, who go get baptized first, who's going to go first, who's going to go first, and there was this big aluminum baptismal tub, man. That's what it was. It was a tub. Right. And we used to have a song that we would sing, because we hadn't experienced it, but went down to the water was cold, it chilled my body, but not my soul. We was like, okay, there was no heating in that pool.
So when you got in there, you was really chilled.
When you stepped in, it was really chilling your body, and then you had to stand in the cold water while they went through the whole the baptismal ritual, and it's like, man, you could do that's cold, and then they kept you down.
Well, I think my dad used to say he wanted to make sure everybody got saved.
Oh yes, he kept you down, and we had froze growing in. You felt your hair shriveling up in there. Even your hair got cold. But it was a very interesting and unique place to start.
Oh, that's good. Darnisa, what do you remember?
Being very young, coming from a church that my grandmother had taken us to, but she no longer lived in the area. So this was an opportunity to go to a real church where there were people I could interact with and really feeling like home. It was much smaller than the church I'd gone to before, and it felt right. It felt warm.
That's amazing. Now, Sister Price told us that it was a lot of young people.
I mean, you had Kathy and Michael and Kelvin, may he rest in peace. And you had Michelle, may she rest in peace, and Robert. And it just like a consortium of people coming off of 4th Avenue. They called us the 4th Avenue crew.
Right. That's what she said.
Yeah, it was amazing how, and we look forward to it. We looked forward to it.
So the church was fun at a young age, but we get to 48th Street, and there's a picture I want to show you guys of you guys. This is a picture of the sign that was on the church that said "Moving," and I'm looking at when y'all would have service. Let me see, service Sunday school 9:45. How long were those services on 48th Street?
Those were long services. Those were long services. But it wasn't just the Sunday service. We was at church every day.
Thank you.
Wow.
We were there on Tuesday. We were there on Wednesday for Bible. We were there for Friday, Saints meeting, and then Thursday was choir rehearsal. And it was every day.
So much.
And Saturday was the barbecues and the car wash.
Don't forget the car wash.
Right.
And while we were there, we were cleaning the church and cleaning the grounds and making sure that everything was good for Sunday.
So y'all have built a community within the community.
Yes, really.
Yes.
Guys, that's one thing I remember as I go through pictures, that because a lot of people, of course, we always give honor to the founders and the leaders, my father and mother, but you all made the church. And there's a picture of my father who was when he was moving, the sign said, here he is, Emmanuel Temple on the move to our new location, getting ready to head over to 48th Street. And then now we see the next picture is the building at 48th Street. And that was it.
That was the spot.
That was the spot.
You can't forget we had from Main Street before there was a motorcade.
A motorcade. He was in the motorcades. I
Yeah,
see.
it wasn't a whole lot of cars, but you know, we were blowing the horn and everything. Like we had a big entourage going. You know, almost from 41st, 42nd and Main to 48th and Avalon. Like, you know, up the street, make a left turn, get to Avalon, make a right turn, and then you're there.
Then you there.
Yeah.
But he liked to let people know y'all was coming.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Well, see, back then, though, Pastor,
Yes,
your
sir.
dad was still working in construction.
Yeah.
And he actually worked on the church
Right.
and did a lot of the work himself. And my dad was working with him. And in fact, that's how I got to the church, because your father asked my father if we could go to Sunday school.
Right.
And he used to pick us up with Carla and Carl.
Wow.
And this was, you know, back in '65.
Wow.
And but we all went and worked at the church before we even opened the church, just to make sure that it was ready for us.
That's so
And
good.
we swept and we, you know, mopped and we did whatever we had to do in order to make it nice. Because, you know, your father loved things nice.
Yeah. So Paulette, tell us about when you came to Great Emmanuel Temple at the time.
Emmanuel Temple at the time. Garrick was 10 months old, and it was April of 1971. Sidney had gone to the market, and he met his cousin. He saw his cousin in the market, Sister Price. And he came home, and he said, I saw my cousin in the market. She says, you know, we want you to come over and play for our choir. We need a musician, an organ player. And so he says, okay, we'll come over there. So that next Sunday, we had gone to Emmanuel Temple, and the week prior was the big earthquake, and Sister Stewart had her dream about the rapture and the earthquake, and so, you know, I'd gone, and so they were all talking about the rapture, and I had no idea what the rapture was.
Okay.
I had no idea what her dream meant or anything. But I enjoyed the church. And I told Sidney, you know what, I like it here, I'm going to stay. I don't think I'm going to go back to Bethany. I'm going to stay over here. So he's like, it was fine with him. He didn't care, you know. So I stayed, and I worked nights, and I couldn't go to Bible study. So one Sunday night, I stood up to testify, and I never testified before. And I was petrified. I just kind of froze. I didn't know what to say. And I was too scared to sit down, to move. I just stood there and looked stupid, right? So finally, I eased back down in my seat. And the next day, there was a knock on the door, and it was Sister Stewart. And she came, I invited her in, and she sat down and she talked with me. And she told me, when you get up to testify, you just talk. That's all it is. It's just talking. And she says, don't worry about being shy, because she told me the story about how shy she used to be. But I tell you, I was so shy, I would cross the street just to keep from looking at people. That's how shy I was. So because I couldn't go to Bible study, Sister Stewart would come to my house once a week, every week, and have a one-on-one Bible study with me. But I wanted to talk about that picture, though,
Yes.
with that little house
Yeah.
right to the right of the church. That was the sweet shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
The
and
first
I'm
sweet
telling you,
shop.
The first sweet shop. And we sold cakes and barbecue dinners, everything in there. Sister Maddie and Mother Hall, we called her moms. We had those car washes, and everything happened in the sweet shop.
Ursi, tell us about when you came. I remember when we talked the other week, you said you met Paulette, was one of the first people you met.
Paulette mother-in-law, Sister Ginyard.
Her mother-in-law.
Her
Okay.
mother-in-law, she was on the porch, and I got off the bus and came there because I was told about the church too. So I came there, and she said, you got off that bus, but you're not going to go back home that way. I'm going to take you home. And my story began. It was wonderful. That's one thing about 48th Street. The young people there was excited.
Yeah.
We loved going to church, especially on Saturdays. We didn't have to pump anyone up to come down to the car wash and the barbecue. I remember Sister Peggy Stewart, husband, was over the car wash, and we would have all the young people there. And I remember one he was very hard. He was very hard on us,
Yes,
but we was there. And remember, after the car wash, we would always want to go somewhere to someone's house. Remember, Jonathan was going over to Sheridan House.
Right.
One
Sheridan
time,
Cypress, yeah.
Sheridan House, and we was playing bingo.
Bingo.
And
Did y'all play bingo back then?
We were playing with pennies too. We was playing with pennies, and we was all down on the floor just playing bingo. And we got a knock at the door, and somebody said, "Go," told one of the kids, "Go answer the door." And so, because we didn't have time, we was watching our pennies and playing down on the floor. And somebody said, "Ella Stewart." Man, pennies went everywhere. All under the table, under the bed. We was trying to get those pennies up. Elder Stewart was at the door. We wasn't expecting him. And then he was looking for Charles Stewart, Peggy Stewart's husband. But he wasn't there. I think maybe he wasn't there, but
No, he wasn't there.
He was looking for him, and I said, "Oh my God." He said, "What were you guys doing?" And everybody was looking at everybody, because we know then we're going to be on silent. We was going to be on silent.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't testify.
No.
We couldn't do anything because we was playing bingo with pennies, with money. And that was a biggie then.
Wow, that's crazy. It's
so
funny.
much
My
fun.
dad always, I think, and we talk about it all the time. Even when we worked here at the church, he pop up when you're doing something you ain't supposed
Least
to be
expected.
doing. Just always popped up, man. Crazy. So Joy, when you came, what I remember as a youngster, you just was a singer. You were singing in the choir and things of that nature. Tell us about when you first came.
Emmanuel Temple kept me in the light. Wow. And the singing, I never went to another church where I was as received so well. And the music department was where I was just really trying to develop myself. And singing for God is different than singing for the world. Because how many times can you say, "Baby, please don't go"?
Right.
baby. No. But you can say, "How great is our God?"
Yeah.
And someone will sing with you. So I like the response. And so this is where I've been. And Emmanuel has given me roots. And I'm back today.
That's good. Well, we're glad to have you, Joy.
Thank you so much.
So this picture up here that's on the screen now is in a service in the choir. Dr. J, tell me what that does for you, that picture.
Well, up there, myself on the right, Brother Ford here, Kelvin Keith, and the tall one was Pitty Mitchell.
Ah, yeah.
And
Buster.
Buster in front, yeah. On the far end there was Michelle Bush. It looked like, Kathy, Georgia. Isn't that you in there, Darnisa, too? All right. Are you up there, Ursa, yet? Okay.
Ursa, you in there, too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hold your mic up.
That's over my head right there.
Yes, I was there.
That was your song?
Yeah, over
you
my
feel like
head.
singing it?
Yeah, I hear music in here. Think about it.
Why don't you think about it?
And what would happen during the service, there would be a song, and one of the songs was "He Lives," and so we wound up having our own little quartet in Ford and Kelvin, and so the song's supposed to be over. But we would belt out, "You ask me how, I know he lives."
I was showing off.
He lives within my heart. And it go back into the tag, and Elder Stewart would look back. Almost like, "Whose show is this?"
Right.
So it became really contagious.
Yeah.
And if you notice, other than there was quite a few young men that were in the choir.
Yeah.
So it became also an attraction.
Yeah.
And that choir began to grow and grow until we had seats then.
Yeah.
But as it began to grow, we had to take the first row sitting down there, so that when it came for the choir to sing. Then the first row, we had to wait for the first row to come up and fill in to the point where first row became first and the second row, and we had to open up that door there. It had to be opened up in order for all of the choir to fill in there. It was a really unique time. It was a time, it looked like it just began to explode. I would have to say there was really an unusual anointing that was on at that location.
Back then, we were all friends.
Right.
Along with being brothers and sisters, we were all friends.
We're like a family.
Exactly.
Family.
We were family,
Yeah.
and we were at each other's homes. We were eating together. We were
Right.
doing a lot of things together.
And
so
speaking of eating together, on Friday night,
Oh, Lord.
Friday, where do we go, Jonathan?
Pharaohs.
In the grinder.
In the grinder.
In the grinder. Every Friday night, we were looking forward for that, going downtown.
After Saints meeting.
After Saints meeting, every Friday night. Who's going to pay this time? Who got money?
Wow.
We put our little money together and we went.
Surprise.
Yes.
Right.
Wow. Memories. After talking to Sister Rebecca, Aunt Rebecca, and then hearing you all, it's the reason why our church, I believe, is a strong church. We ain't got thousands. We're not the biggest church in the city, but there is something here. I think that when new members join Greater Emmanuel, and I talk to them, so what brought you here and what made you want to stay? It's some of the same, the same energy that you guys are saying happened to you all, the spirit that connected with you all, and I think it's great. That's
But we didn't want to
crazy.
disappoint Elder Stewart.
Yeah.
And he taught us the closeness, the love for each other. He taught us as a family. And even to this day, we was a family-orientated church back then, and we're still doing it now.
your mom was a traditional person. She was staunch. Everything was about God. Everything was about the Lord. That's all she spoke of. And your father was a powerful preacher. Now, it wasn't that he knew the scriptures and be able to take 5 or 6 scriptures and wrap them to this way, but he would deliver what he delivered to the point to where he would be running across the stage, and sometimes he'd be running on the pews, and and we'd all be up shouting. But when he did altar call, it was like he was talking to you directly.
That's right.
Wow.
And
Good to sit
it was he would say that if you can't stand up, raise your hand. I'll come get you. I'll come
That
get
was his
you.
line. That was his line.
And they were very strong people.
Wow.
Very strong people.
Wow.
On Sundays, sometimes on Sundays, when Garrick was a baby, I would, after church, I said, sisters, because I didn't have any food. When I didn't have any food at home, I knew where I could get a meal. We come and she would just treat you like royalty.
Wow.
She would set the table. She would put Bishop Stewart would come in looking,
She's very
said,
particular.
Paulette and Garrick are here for dinner, And Garrick would get so excited to go to their house. She would set everything up so nice, and you just think, but that's how she was. She would say, we might not have much, but what you do have, you want the best.
That's right. That's
Everything
right.
she did had to be the best.
Yeah.
And Bishop had such a tender heart when he would preach. And you knew the anointing was on him. He didn't do a whole lot of jumping and hooping and stuff, but he'd cry. He had a tender heart.
Wow.
He'd break his, oh my God. He's just standing, he'd be preaching from his heart, and you knew it was from his heart because tears would be flowing. And you would just be mesmerized,
Wow.
just watching the tears come down from the pastor.
My time with Sister Stewart, as I knew her growing up, was as a kind person. She showed me what it was like to be a good wife and a good mother, and in a way I hadn't seen before. I was fortunate for a couple of years before I had my own transportation and was still living at home. I would ride with the family to church on Sunday mornings and would be them all day sometimes through afternoon brunch into the evening service. And yeah, all day. And there's nothing like seeing someone in action, not what they tell you to do, but actually seeing it in action.
Yes.
And with Sister Stewart, she was the epitome. She knew when to be kind. She knew when to be generous. She knew the word. The word was in her heart, which to this day has helped me. If you are in trouble, you have problems, you don't want to go grab a Bible. You already want to have it in your heart.
Yes.
And she was good at that. She knew how to share that. And so the time I spent with her, to me, was always exciting and I always cherished, because she was that aunt that was special. Wasn't necessarily an aunt biological, but an aunt in the spirit.
That's amazing. Well, listen, I'm so grateful. Y'all give it up for the 48th Street crew. So, this part of the service is so very important because it takes us throughout the whole history of the Greater Emmanuel Temple, or the Emmanuel Temple Music Department. And what better host for this segment than Rapture and myself. One of the things when I go back, choir was so huge. Right. Yeah. The choir was huge. I saw pictures of the choir even sitting in the audience, in the balcony. And then Kathy, when you would direct, you were just graceful like a swan, just very graceful. Tell us about, were you a choir director before, or did you become a choir director at Emmanuel Temple?
No, it's like you said, I started on Main Street.
Okay, yeah.
And there were very few, so we didn't have a choir when I first came to Main Street.
Okay.
So it was Darnisa, Sister Michelle Mitchell.
Yes.
Myself, I think my younger brother Kelvin was in the choir, and Pitty Mitchell, he used to play the drums, and Mother Stewart was our organist.
Right.
So you know we sang the hymn.
Yeah.
But that's the way the choir started.
Right.
So then we decided we needed a name, and then we voted on it, and it became the Voices of Glory.
Right.
So y'all vote. The Voices of Glory was the first name of the first choir.
Was the name.
Okay.
It was the name. People could see that we were having fun, because that's when the choir started growing and growing and growing, till you'd have everybody up there. But then after a while, especially on Sunday night, they would clear that choir stand out shouting.
Later down the line, there was a young man that came with Flash. I'm going to call him Flash. He was the Flash Gordon of directing, and that was Deacon Donald O'Neill. And Donald came, and I remember, I don't know if it was the first time you came and directed, but I remember Donald, white suit, look at him, look young.
On the pews.
On the pews, and it would be like, no shoes.
Take the shoes off though. Yeah.
He would be directing the choir. And so, Donna, when you came and added what God gave you, what was that experience like when you first came?
My experience when I first came to Emmanuel Temple, I knew this was a good choir. And I knew they had the potential of going to the next level. And people didn't know this before I joined this church. I had already put it out to the other churches about what this choir was all about. And the word, when I said that, the word got out that Deacon O'Neill is going to Emmanuel Temple to direct their choir. My experience with this choir was phenomenal. When I first started, I came, the first song I directed was Christmas. Remember, Larry? Christmas. We have come to celebrate this day. Come on along with us. Let heaven bells ring. This is the birthday of the King.
Now, did you write that song?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's why
he remembers it.
Yes, I did.
So Larry, I want to go to you for a second. Tell us about your experience when you came. I remember back in the first church here before we tore it down and built this one. I remember you on the organ and Eddie on the drums. I remember that, and I remember Philip. By then, that's when Phil was doing mostly a lot of bass playing bass and guitar. So tell us about your experience, Larry.
Man, when I came to Emmanuel Temple, might have to turn the camera off for this one. I thought Bishop Stewart was the meanest dude I ever met.
You ain't the only one.
So when Bishop Stewart was preaching one Sunday, I got on the organ and started backing him up. He said, "I don't like all that." I'm like, dang, what just happened? I thought I was in the wrong key, and then I tried to change keys and do it again. So it was like, it was a weird transition because I thought I was good, but for a minute I was like, man, I must smell funny or something because this dude don't like me. But then we just became like the best of friends, you know. It was like, after a while, he used to say I was like his son because my daddy was gone. So I had to learn Bishop first to learn how to flow in service. I learned how to play hymns right from Mother Stewart because she'd get on there, put it in C or G and rip. You know, and it'd be funny, you know, your pops could probably start singing one day, and he'd be in E flat, but your moms would jump up there and put him in C.
That's right. He changed
to get there. So it was like learning Bishop was a real interesting experience, but then I started liking it because he did have a standard and a structure that always, it was consistent. You knew who he was, how he was, and he just didn't play. Those moments were magical in my life because they developed me. They helped me become who I was. And I say Donald for last because once Donald came, it was kind of like Showtime. We were Lakers then. It was Showtime in Linwood. When Donald came, he took the shoes off, he jumped on the pew, and he spun around 20 minutes, and we hold that note 20 minutes with him. So it was, my experience coming was, it was a real development stage for me. And it was good because I was like 15, so at that age, you can pick and choose to go the wrong way. But because Bishop Stewart was so stern and so hard, I didn't have time to pick and choose because I knew I got to find the right key so he don't yell at me again next Sunday. And at the end of it, I got to experience his love in a special way.
There was a sound. So I want to just talk about the Emmanuel Temple sound.
Well, it was interesting because, again, I call it like a paradigm shift. The atmosphere, the culture of the world was changing. The culture of gospel music was changing, and trying to balance out the traditional old school hymnals to what would be considered a more contemporary style. Who we were listening to, the Hawkins, Benny Cummings, and Triborough Choir, choirs from New York that had a different style, and then incorporating it with what we had here.
My transition to the organ was from Larry, and I remember Alan came while you were there, and then I remember when you left, Larry, then Alan, it was just solely Alan, and then I came in after Alan. But I remember like Philip watching you growing up, and like you are one of like the main influences on like me and Nissan in our music career and stuff, like, you know, watching you play the drums and going to the bass and then go. That's one of the reasons why I think like I really took, you know, myself trying to play more than one instrument, because that's what I saw growing up. You be on the drums, then you go to the bass, like, and then you go to the guitar. So, you know, you talk about your experience a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Thanks, Rap. The band that had no name, that played the song No Time Blues, was Nissan on drums, and you playing bass line on organ, and me playing guitar. You remember that?
Yeah.
Awesome talent right here.
I remember that.
Y'all was young. I can't
That was
remember.
like in the chapel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I do. I remember that.
Yeah, y'all was young, so I mean, you had it from the beginning. All God needed to do was put something out there for you to focus on so that you could glorify him, and that's exactly what happened. Okay. It wasn't none of me. It was just me getting pushed around like everybody else getting pushed around. I'm a drummer. That's the only thing I claim to be. But then when Cedric took over, then I moved to bass. Sorry, Jay. So I did that until Chucky came, and then I went to guitar. God prepared me to where my talents could grow. And I appreciate him for that.
I think the funniest, well, it may not have been funny, but it was funny when we were on 48th, and we were singing, and the church was rocking. I mean, and a man from across the street on Avalon, he stood back and he looked and he said, I thought the church was on fire because the church was rocking and rolling and it was smoke coming from underneath there. So, and we were like, we were inside, so we didn't see what he saw. But it became another drawing card, you know, on that corner of 48th and Avalon would be hot. I mean, it was a unique anointing that had been placed on this ministry, you know.
So good. That's so good. So in closing, let me ask you all this. What was your favorite songs of that area, or your favorite song that you played a part in, whether you played it or directed it or taught it? I have one, but I'll say mine last. What was yours, Larry?
Better Days, because I still sing it.
Yes.
Better Days are coming.
Yeah.
I learned that here. I never heard of it. I thought Bishop wrote it or something. But it lives in my spirit.
Yeah. That's a good song. That's a good song. Jonathan?
Lord, don't let me fail. I want to be in the bride. You know, that. And I think of Sister Michelle Mitchell. She sang Going Up Yonder.
Kathy, what was your favorite song?
Ones that I remember, like It's Gonna Rain.
Yes.
I remember Never Alone.
Yeah.
I remember, it's the one that Joy used to sing.
Work it out. Jesus, work it out.
Jesus can work it out. But then you remember more so just the songs that Pastor Stewart, when he got up and he I won't turn back.
Yeah.
You know, and he really get into it.
So all of those songs are amazing, but I like the song that Kathy said, Never Alone, because I remember so vividly how you guys would sing it and play it. It's still in my head. But my favorite song, the praise team is going to sing next. They're going to take us way back with God Is.
How many of you can testify to the fact that God is everything? I need you to talk back to me. He's everything that you need him to be. Right where you can, you just lift your hands and tell him, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
Never to leave me.
let's talk about the life of the deacons here at Greater Emmanuel Temple. It's no secret that the deacons play a huge pivotal role in leadership of the church, because the deacons are to take care of the membership as well as support the role of the pastor. And we've been blessed to have some amazing men and women to be a part of the deacon team here at Greater Emmanuel Temple. But here today we have some of our head deacons, former head deacons and now our current head deacons. So we have Gary Morgan, we have Claude Boyd, and we have our current head, Deacon Reggie Williams. Don't they look serious? Because the deacons are always serious. But thank you guys for coming today and being with us. Deacon Morgan, let me ask you this, because I know, I've knowing both of you gentlemen since we were young, Reggie and I was young. Do you remember when you first became a deacon, and how did Bishop Stewart let you know it was time for you to be a deacon?
I first became a deacon in 1981.
81.
And I'd gotten saved a couple of years earlier in 79. And I always looked up to the deacons. You know, it was let's say it was a group to be desired.
Yes.
And I guess the Lord put it on Bishop's heart to ask me if I wanted to be a deacon. He didn't have to ask twice.
Wow, that's good.
So I was up for it, and he had us come to his office, my wife and I, Bernice, and he talked to us, and we said yes.
And then Deacon Boyd.
Well, it worked a little different because Bishop Stewart, we were having a dinner downstairs. And you know how Bishop get ready to leave, to go home. He walked away from the table, and he came back and he says, Brother Boyd, I want you to go over to my office and have the office to get you a badge. I said, what for? He said, you're going to be on my board. I said, I don't have nothing to say about it. He says, no. I says, well, I think you better think about this, Pastor. So he says, we'll talk about it. And after talking about it, he just came back and says, you're it. You're going to be on my deacon board. And it was just that simple.
And then, Redrick, I think that sounds maybe something similar. You remember when you became a deacon?
I do.
Tell me about it.
He finally just told me one Wednesday, he said, you know what I'm going to do? And I was like, no. He was like, I'm going to make you a deacon. And that was just the end of it. Like, you figure it was no discussion of do you want to or anything like that. It was just, this is what I'm going to do. And that was it. And from there, that was my story.
That's hilarious. I think when you look back through the history, I don't think he was making deacons or leaders just to be leaders. I think he saw something in the individuals.
Oh, most definitely.
He saw something in you gentlemen. And I mean, since I've been young, it was always about the deacons and the trustees, from the greats from here, whether it's Trustee Sam Swayzer, Harper, Ross, Trustee Ross, Deacon Williams, Deacon Dennis, and on so many that we can't name, but I know it was serious because you guys made sure that this church stood. One thing about you, Deacon Morgan, you and Trustee Ross went down with my father. You guys went down south somewhere and purchased the church buses?
We flew to Atlanta, Georgia, and got on another little plane and flew to, it was somewhere south in Atlanta, and we picked up the bus, and they gave us a tour of the factory showing how they made each and every bus and motorhome. And
Bluebird, at the Bluebird factory?
Bluebird factory. And so that same day, we drove Bishop to the airport. He flew back.
And y'all drove back?
Brother Ross and I, we drove back.
And then you, many Sundays, would pick up people. You guys would pick up people.
Yeah, I was over I was on the bus committee.
The bus committee.
Over the buses. We had 3 buses.
Mm-hmm. Well, those were good times. So you all took care of the people. So Redrick, so even being a deacon now, because we have so many new faces and people that come in, what's the passion behind you in the job of being even the head deacon now? Which you do a good job, I might say a great job, and you learn from these brothers here and the other brothers. So what would you say is your passion behind serving God's people as the head of the deacon board here?
Well, first off, I would say the passion is just a love for people, for God's people, a love for this church. Obviously, from growing up in it, it just sticks with you. Also looking up to these brothers, growing up as heroes. Bishop Stewart obviously was a superhero. And these guys were straight heroes. Yeah. All of them. Don't want to call all their names because they're all great in their own right. But just growing up here was amazing. Like you said, the deacons were like, on another caliber. But I did want to say one story when you were talking about the buses, if you don't mind.
Is it a story of me and you driving the buses?
No, it's a story of you driving the bus.
Me driving the bus?
You driving the bus. So when we were kids, we were about 14 years old, and Bishop Stewart had hired us just to come wash those 3 buses.
Yes, he did.
So I remember at the time, Deacon Jackson, maybe the first couple weeks, Deacon Jackson would pull that big bus out, and we'd have to wash it and everything.
You just gonna tell it all, ain't
So
you?
I remember this one week, Nissan decided, I'm gonna drive that bus. So he waited till Deacon Jackson went in to get the keys, because the keys used to hang in a closet back here. And when he walked in there to get them, Nissan went and jumped in that bus and pulled the biggest one out. And Deacon Jackson finally came outside and looked. And he talked, "Hey man, what are you doing, man?" But after that, he never bothered Nissan. Nissan pulled all the buses out. We was probably only 14 years old. But every week when it was time to wash the buses, he'd say, "You got it."
That was exciting. That was exciting to drive that big bus.
I don't know. I don't know how you would do that. 14 years old driving a big old bus like that.
We're in the parking lot. Well, thank God I didn't run into anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank God, because Deacon Morgan would have let me have it, I'm sure. But those were times we learned. And you know what? To the importance of the deacon board, I think if you be honest, there are a lot of men and women that come into the church, some of the young kids, and some of them, their father wasn't in their life, and the deacons really kind of play a surrogate role, for lack of a better term, in stepping up, because it's important to groom the young men, to make sure the young ladies are protected, and as people come into the church, they are protected, and that's why it was always a serious thing.
And that was for me too. I'm one of those guys that grew up without a father in the home, period, and looked up to these guys. So the deacons always was somebody that you could look up to, somebody that you could always get some advice and some money, and it was always like good times, You could attach yourself to somebody that was positive.
That's good. So a huge mentorship. The deacons play a huge role in mentorship for the young men, not only in the church, but even in the community. And we're continuing on with, and like I said, Red, you're doing a great job learning from these brothers and learning from our great mentor, Deacon Jackson,
the best,
our first boss.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah, our first boss.
And the trip thing about him is when we were coming up, when you said Deke, that was only Deacon Jackson.
Right.
Nobody else was Deke. He was Deke, but then after he left, every deacon is Deke now.
Yeah,
it's like nobody can take his place with just Deke,
Yeah. I'll tell you one of the things that I loved about the deacons throughout the history of this church since I was young, and that was Easter morning when the deacons would come together and y'all put together the most amazing breakfast. I look forward to that every year.
It was hard to get up that early.
Yeah.
We'd start 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we still be going 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, still passing food out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember just Bishop Stewart always would send somebody down to be like, "Are they ready?" And he could keep preaching and keep doing whatever, and still 20 minutes later somebody come down, "Bishop want to know, are you ready?" Like, not ready. You'd have to keep going, but it definitely was different. I mean, everybody knew their role, I guess, because with, Deke gonna make the eggs. My pops, Elder Jones, would make the grits. Swayzer always gonna bring the donuts.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of just knew what they were gonna do. Crawford is always gonna make the sausage.
Right.
It was
Leonard,
like
Leonard came and added the
Leonard back
pancakes.
then would do the pancake. So everybody kind of knew where they fell in, and it was like nobody was gonna do your job.
Right.
It was literally a phone call, like, "Where you at? We need these grits. Like, where you at?"
Right.
Nobody's gonna step in for you. It's waiting for you when you get here.
That's
so
good.
you figure, it was always good times. And it was always a time for us to really just kind of just catch up at one place,
Right. Well, that's amazing. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, especially because it's 2020 and this has been a crazy year. I mean, we haven't been to church since March, and just to celebrate 55 years this way, I think is a good thing. But when we come back, 2021, we got to bring the deacons breakfast back. Will y'all do that for us? Make sure we have a good breakfast. Even if it's not Easter, just we'll take a specific Sunday and we put it together.
Yes, absolutely.
Like a good plan to me.
And we teach the younger deacons that are coming up, let them do the work, and y'all can supervise them, point the finger, tell them what to do. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
All right, good deal. This is Deacon Life.
All right, you all, fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a bumpy ride. Today we have on this stage what we're calling the Cool Crew. Before we begin, let me just say, in all of our families, in all of our communities, we have multi-generations. This is a generation of individuals who have certainly shaped the culture at Emmanuel Temple. They've influenced the generation ahead of them, and they certainly have influenced the ones that came behind them. So, we know that this Cool Crew is just one of many Cool Crews that we've had over the 55 years. We couldn't get them all on the stage. So let me introduce them to you. Starting with, to my left, Crystal.
Hello,
my
everybody.
brother, Redrick.
Hello.
Cynthia.
Hello.
Rhonda.
Hey, everybody.
Rapture. Joel. And Eric. And joining us via Zoom is Junior.
Yo, what up?
So let me take you to, Young People's Night was Monday night. Y'all remember Monday nights? Yes. So it was seminars, there was classes, there was, Bible Bowl. What do you all remember from Monday night's youth night?
I wasn't good at Bible Bowl.
I don't think any of us were pretty good in Bible Bowl during that time, but thanks to Sister Ginyard and Sister Peggy and Linda Lane and all of them with those flashcards. I remember those flashcards that helped us with Bible Bowl, with learning all the books of the Bible, the Old and the New Testament. So when we had those questions come up, we were all good. But when the other ones came through, we were like, we don't know those questions.
Sister Paulette would always come up with the songs. Remember? She had now after the book of Moses.
Go on and finish the song, though. Go on and finish
Servant
it.
of the Lord.
Go ahead,
remember
sing
everything.
It. Sing it. So, okay, on Monday nights, there was that. There was also, I remember there were like music classes. There were seminars.
We learned how to change tires, jump start a car.
Remember, we used to be at the park, trying to see who was going to jump off the high dive at the pool. Nobody wanted to do it. Everybody jumped off the low one. Everybody was scared to jump off the high one.
I feel like, man, yeah, I think you're right. But I feel like I always, jumped in front of the bullet for whatever reason, just on some goofy boy stuff. I know you mentioned Bible Bowl particularly, and I think, one of, as that all ties in together, I remember being on the Bible Bowl team, man. That's what that was crazy about that. As I was on the Bible Bowl team, and I think I might have been the best. Go figure that. But what was I remember us going to New Orleans for the PED convention, and we competed. We competed at the Bible Bowl competition, and I remember we was just going in really. Emmanuel Temple was representing so cold out there. We were just beating everybody left to right. And I remember always trying to, Henry Bursey taught us just, to have your finger halfway down on the button. So when they ask a question, you just pull the trigger. And I remember, we were like right there for the championship, getting ready to take it all. And they asked a question, and Nikki Harper beat me to the question. But I knew the answer, and she got it wrong, man. That killed me, man, because I remember, God rest Mother Stewart's soul. I remember Mother Stewart had to calm me down, like on some walk me off the cliff type situation, because it was that important to me. So it's funny. It's just funny that we mentioned that I would always be the one to kind of lead the way, but it was also crazier that I was the one that just kind of turned to the whole Bible Bowl thing, man. It was actually good at it. It was New Orleans.
I forget that Jazz was that cold in Bible Bowl. I forgot all about that.
We've got some classic photos, though. So during the summer, and there was the senior weekend, there was the senior dinner, there was the traditions during that time. Can y'all talk about that whole weekend with the limousine and all?
92 was deep.
Yeah.
What was your year, Cynthia?
Yeah, there were about 10 of us. There were 10 of us that were graduating that year, and Sister Carla and Philip were our youth directors at the time. And there was this big dinner put together every year, but our year was the biggest year thus far. It was an amazing time because we weren't allowed to go to prom. That was our prom. That's what we had, a dinner downstairs, and yes, the limousine picked us up. We went from house to house picking up everyone, and limousine pulled up right in front of the church, and we had on our prom gear. Everyone was dressed to impress.
Let's see that prom gear.
Look.
Here we go. Cynthia, what are you wearing?
Look at Redrick.
Sequence.
Who's that? Jay. Wow. Nissan. There goes Seeds. Ron. Quinette. Kim Hill.
Wow.
Jake. Isn't that Jake?
Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that certainly was a cool crew right there.
Yeah, we got dressed up just to get in the limousine, just to come back to church.
Everything was at church.
At the church. But that's,
And then the previous year, well, as you can see, Pam is there and Iran is there, and they served us. So the previous graduates had to serve the next graduating season, and we had to do the same for the next group. So.
What is it like now seeing your children grow up in the church?
I feel like now that we know the word for ourselves, we know how to keep our kids well-rounded and know how to love God, know how to worship God, know how to have a relationship with God, but actually know how to live in this world as well. And then our church has so many things for the children, especially for the girls and the boys with Jam, with Who's That Girl, with, the mentorship programs where they can see other things other than just church. Right. They need to see something outside of church as well. So I think that's really cool.
So y'all were ripping and running through the city. I think y'all know LA like the back of your hand. Can you recall some of the places y'all used to go and eat?
We used to go to Venice Beach.
Those were the days, though. Let me just say that.
Yeah, so we would have to go. We would get out of church. We was hoping that church would get out fast. We would get out of church, go to the car, pull somewhere, change, go hit the Venice. And then basically we got to be back here by 6. So we come back, we stop, change back into the clothes, and then go right in there and go do church. And then after that, change back again and go back to Crenshaw.
They was just free, wasn't they?
Right.
God is good. That's all I'm going to say. God is good.
We went to Bobo's or Tom's.
Right, exactly.
Come right back to this church. We ain't go nowhere.
Nope.
I'm
Come
shocked.
right back.
We had ambition.
I didn't even know this.
We had ambition.
He said he didn't know this.
We had jobs and things, so it was different.
Yeah, y'all did. When y'all were younger, y'all did.
So now, okay, these two, you all worked together. You went to school together. Talk about that.
We did everything.
Where did you work?
We worked here.
We worked here first.
And
First
Ralph.
job was 14 years old right here at ET.
Yep.
We started here, and man, I don't know how long we worked here. Chuck was here too.
Chuck was
working
here.
at the church. And then Jazz would come and just hang out with us because he was just around. So we had a good time down here on Saturdays.
But yeah, no, we worked at the church, and we were taught to take care of the church. You know, we always try to continue that today, but because this was like our home away from home, and so
I had keys to the church before I had keys to my house.
Yep.
wow,
That's how crazy that was. Like, literally had keys to a building before you had it to your house. That's crazy.
But y'all used to have them lines in the carpet looking fresh, though.
Ain't nobody.
They had
I'll show
competition. They had
you right now.
competition
It's not,
over
I
that.
still a whoop you on them lines.
yeah, no, we'd have to clean.
Oh, yeah, that's Deacon Jackson. Deacon
taught us how
Jackson
to
made sure you
clean.
had that. You had
And
that
my father
grass
would
to-
come in and he would tell, y'all didn't clean this place. I don't see the lines. We didn't know then what that was probably doing for us.
Right.
And the value of it then, because we was younger, but I think it's safe to say that as we got older, we understood the value of taking care of the house of the Lord where people come, you know.
Were any of you ever called into Bishop Stewart's office for one thing or another?
I wasn't. Thank God.
For what for?
Well, me and Reginald was probably called in the office, but I will not say what for.
Me either.
Who stands out as some of the, I guess, because you all grew up here, so everyone that was like that older generation, I guess you would consider them the uncles and the aunts of like the church. Who stands out as some of those people who were influential to you, more like disciplinarians for you?
I got one.
Mother Shepherd.
Yep. That's one.
Yeah.
She was, the minute she stood up, you knew she was coming to move you from where you were sitting.
Right. That's Jazz's grandmother. Yeah.
And that's exactly. And she did it in such a slow motion that the whole church would cease. It would
Right.
just be quiet.
They waiting to see who she going to get.
Absolutely. And if a majority of the time, it was Jazz. It was Junior.
You know, and you know what, Cynthia, because what's crazy about that is she, I think she would have done it regardless, but the fact that she had the cosign from, you know what I'm saying, from Bishop Stewart to go ahead and do it, because like when she said what she said, he would jump right in and be like, get him. You know, so that was like code for like, I'm gonna just do, and nobody, it was no respect to person, nobody. And she got everybody who was in the, you know, was in her scope. She made sure she got you.
Sister Lawana Bursey, boy, she was a disciplinarian. That
Yeah.
lady. But once you got to know her, she became the sweetest person.
Still.
But I just remember her disciplining everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and she wouldn't let nothing slide.
Yeah.
But one thing about Lawana Bursey was she made you step up. She made you come up to a level of excellence and a level of discipline. And when you saw her, she just gave you that whole look like, all right, you remember what happened last time? But it just kind of checked you. You know what I mean? It just kind of kept you in check so that you would be able to be disciplined in your own life, you know, growing up. But yeah.
That's crazy.
Hey, I got one. One for me was Trustee Percy Ross.
Yep, just about to say him.
Yeah.
Dressing and stuff. Like for our generation, like between him and then even my older brother Carl, like they was like the main ones that we always looked at. You know what I'm saying? Like Trustee Ross, if you came one Sunday and your tie and pocket square combo wasn't right, the next Sunday he come with a pocket square like, hey, wear this with that tie you had on next week, next time you do it. So they made sure, like, that's where I learned about cufflinks. That's where I learned about all that kind of stuff. So we used to look at them and we used to try to like emulate them as far as the dress and trying to be complete with the remember how we used to wear the button-on suspenders? That's where we knew about all that stuff from them. So like we used to watch them and they really taught us about the dressings, and it shows through now, you know. I ain't saying that, you know, well, yeah, we dress pretty good. I'm
fly. I don't know about the rest of the panel.
You know,
up here.
as far
Let's
as
just say facts.
for the women were concerned, and my generation and the women above me, and all the way up to my mom, I would say a lot of them looked up to First Lady.
Right, exactly.
Because of her class and the way she wore her hair. And she didn't have a whole lot of makeup on, but she was still beautiful and still flawless. And I just remember my sister, I'm not going to mention her name. You guys know I have two, so you'll figure it out. But I remember one time, First Lady was standing there, and she was talking to my mom, and she was talking about, oh, look at the girls and the girls' hair. And then my mom and First Lady started talking about the rapture stuff. And I looked over, and one of my sisters had taken Sister Stewart's dress, and she just, I was like, what are you doing? And it was something about her fragrance that my sister loved. And I remember my sister saying, I can't find this perfume that Sister Stewart used to wear. It's so beautiful. It's so this. And it was like every time we saw Sister Stewart and when she walked by us, it was just that grace. It was just that presence that she had that we all looked up to. You know, we all wanted to be her when we got older, when we started having kids, and when we got married. She was the one that we aspired to be. You know, even with her faith, even with how supportive and how loyal she was to the church and how loyal she was to her family. All of that stuff we still pull from to this day, I would say, most of us on the platform.
And she was always positive as well. Like, she will pull you to the side and be like, I'm going to tell you this. Like, nobody else would know. Like, you don't know when she's going to say something to you, right? So when you get that sprinkle of word, you be like, oh, Sister Stewart told me this. My mama, Sister Stewart, said I'm going to do this, you know, or whatever. So just that positive thing that she would instill into you, you took that and you ran with that.
My favorite teacher, well, it was the tie between Sister Peggy,
Sister
Joey's
Peggy.
mom, and Sister Paulette.
And Sister Gang.
That was the tie. Sunday school, that was some of the best times on because it's crazy, like a lot of that stuff that, like you talk about how when you guys cleaned the church and like you didn't really realize what it was doing for you. I'm sure like even Jazz, you didn't realize when you was in the Bible, doing the Bible Bowl, what that was really doing for you. It's the same thing with Sunday school. We was learning all this stuff that we still know now, but we had, I'll say our church had one of the best Sunday school and just youth department programs, period, because like from the summer workshop days even up to Sunday school, like we all look forward to like going to Sunday school and stuff on Sundays, and I'm like, okay, it's not necessarily like that all the time, so I just want to, you know, put a little light on that as well.
I was able to have a very personal relationship with both Mother Stewart and Bishop Stewart. It's something that you will never forget, just her love for the rapture and how much that was instilled in me growing up. You miss her a lot when you think about, you know, how much she has meant to my family. When it comes to Bishop Stewart, it's funny because my husband and I talk about how he was treated when he first met Bishop Stewart. He sized him up. He looked him down. He's like, who this man? You know, and I was like, wow, you know, because he wanted the best for all of us. He saw us grow up. He saw us, you know, here with pigtails and, you know, running around with each other. I mean, I'm sure, you know, he was like, you're not just going to come in and take one of my daughters without me knowing who you are. But at, you know, towards the end of his life, my daughters and my husband would go visit him, and they would take him for walks. And that is something that we share very dear and close to us. So everything that we've learned here in the church has definitely established our foundation. Greater Emmanuel Temple is a legacy.
For me, I'm glad that my parents decided to come join this church. A little backstory. Bishop Stewart gave my dad and my uncle their first job. Bishop Stewart and my grandfather were super close, so it almost kind of seemed like that this was destined to happen, that I would run into these two gentlemen and we become brothers. For me, I'm the only child on the panel, I believe, so coming here and fellowshipping with Redrick, Nissan, Rap, Joe, Chuck, Dante, Seats, Jazz, I mean all the homies that were here, they became my brothers. I was the only child, so it was like, it was cool to come to church because I get to hang out with them, see them. Even Daniel and Michael Rambo, they were the first people that I knew because I went to elementary school with them. So it was a huge blessing for me because I got to fellowship with these guys, hang out with these guys, and the sisters as well. You know, they became my sisters.
My experience, I was raised here since birth, Greater Emmanuel Temple. And Bishop Stewart and Mother Stewart, they meant so much to me. They pretty much raised me and my family, my 7 brothers and sisters. They took my mom in, of course, they've been pretty much my rock. They were such a blessing to me, not even only me, to my family, my mom, and just great examples of this church. It winged off to all the people sitting up here and their parents and their families, and they pretty much held us all together. And that's where we're at 55 years now. That's the reason, because of them too.
I'll say that you all definitely contributed to the legacy of Emmanuel Temple, and the legacy continues.
So, let's talk about 1977, the beginning of the Linwood days. Let's say that I'm more than qualified to talk about it because, yes, I was around and I started paying attention at a young age. Oh, and yes, my mom, she took pride in slicking my hair down like she did. Some of y'all remember. As you've heard, the church began to grow and grow and grow. So the Emmanuel Temple Church family headed to Linwood. It was not a small transition either. It was huge, and the people were ready. Everybody got dressed up in their best. They looked good, by the way. And we were ready for the next phase. So Elder Carl and Sister Janet Stewart, they were pleased and ready to get busy. As you heard, it was about his preaching. Elder Stewart was passionate concerning telling people about Jesus Christ and all about salvation. When I was young, sitting in the pews and playing with my toys, the people was having church. I mean, they were singing, clapping, praying, dancing in the spirit for joy. And this was a real church family. And you can't have family without people. And my mom and dad, they loved the people. There was a lot of people too. I mean, the church was always packed. And there were tons of young people. Emmanuel Temple was full of so many amazing people. People who loved, people who served, and people who really cared. Families, they gathered together. They had fun together. And when I think back to those days as a kid, one could easily tell that this church was all about coming together. And when we got together, it was a good old time. I remember we used to have big dinners on the parking lot. Man, those days were so much fun. But 10 years later, Dr. Stewart said, it's time to rebuild again. And sometimes, in order to build, you have to tear some things down and start over. And the church came together once again. They gave of their time, their money, their resources, and we began construction on a new building. So we did it again. We marched. This time, it was from Bateman Hall, and we headed up Bullis Road to the front of our brand new sanctuary. This was the first time we walked into a brand new building that we had built. To God be the glory for the things He has done. We still had church. We still sang. We still served. And we still loved each other. But time brings about a change. We grow. We get older. We become seasoned. we become wiser. Then God says, "Well done, good and faithful servants." Transition is inevitable, and the baton was passed on to me to lead the church into its next season. I accepted the position as pastor, understanding the history of this church and the love of this church from the people. And so, we continue. I believe that a good church will always have its people and its community in mind. And with that said, we still sing, we still serve, we still love to fellowship and have fun. And yes, we still know how to love. And that brings us to GET Now.
We have had some amazing conversations looking back over the past 55 years. But there's nothing more special than talking about where we are now. This is GET Now. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you some of the outstanding, beautiful, bright, energetic members of GET Now. So let's start with our youth pastor, Dane.
Hey.
The pastor's wife, LaToya.
Hello.
And then Alexis.
Hello.
Siobhan.
Hello.
Murray.
Hey, everyone.
Tammy.
Praise the Lord.
And Larry.
Hello, everyone.
I want to start off with talking with the pastor's wife, with LaToya first. First of all, I want to say you have had an upfront and front row seat to witnessing both pastors, so your father-in-law and now your husband. What are the similarities that you've noticed between the two of them?
I believe that the message that they preach is definitely the same, but total opposite.
Okay, so here we go. So let's talk about some of the opposites then.
Okay, pastor, my husband, very laid back. That's just his personality. If he could wear shorts to church, he would definitely wear shorts. It's all about comfort for him. With Bishop, he was more prestige, more stern, more serious, if I could say, although he did have a funny side to him, very funny. But yeah, they're just two different, and like I said before, the message is definitely the same.
The message is the same, yes. And let's talk about the two of you, and then you as well. You are a wonderful and beautiful addition to this church.
Thank you.
Tell me about your niche and kind of how you found your spot. I mean, because you're active and you're kind of visibly everywhere sometimes. How's that been?
Coming in as being a pastor's wife, you feel that there's so much that you're supposed to be doing. There's so much, and Nissan would tell me, don't pressure yourself.
Yeah.
Just find what it is that you like to do and be you. He would have to tell me that over and over. I was trying to put my hand in everything because I felt that's what I was supposed to be doing. So everybody knows me, I love children. So I found that niche. We didn't have at the time children's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what if I start this children's ministry and I would be doing something that I love to do? And I got a team, they were on board, and that was it.
Yeah.
Jam was birthed, and I've been loving it ever since. So that's my thing. I'm really into the women as well. I'm very personable, and I love relationships. So I make it my business. Every Sunday, it's like I get joy just being able to speak to people and being able to see them every Sunday and know that they're doing well. By me seeing them, I know, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. It's good to see you. And I make it my business, like I said, to be able to touch everybody and know that I'm just a touch away.
Yeah.
I'm not far, I'm a people person, so.
Yeah.
that's been good for me too.
So Mother Stewart, who the first lady of the church over the past years, the two of you probably had some special moments, but there probably was never of course, any playbook that was written. What's that been like, and what kind of like special moments have you all had, and what's it been like now that you are the pastor's wife? What's the difference and similarities you all have?
Okay, so when I first started dating Nissan, I would come sporadically to the church because I did have my own church. And I remember I was so nervous to meet his mother. I don't know why everybody else was cool, but it was his mother that I was so nervous to meet.
Yeah.
And I remember I came to church and we were greeting each other. So I was like, I had to do it. So I walked up to her and I was like I was speechless. And she just looked at me. She held my shoulders, okay?
Okay.
And it was just like a moment, you know how it feels like everybody's standing still and it's just, and she was like, LaToya. It felt like eternity, but it was like a couple of seconds. And I just knew from when she said my name, I knew exactly what she was saying. Like, you have no idea. Like, I don't know how they saw the future or what they saw, but she just looked, and it was a good look. It wasn't like, oh, you don't know what you're getting yourself. Yeah. No, it wasn't that. But it was just no.
Yeah.
A just no. Mm-hmm. So that I remember I was telling him the other day that he never knew that happened. So I told him, and I was just like, that was my only connection with her. Because shortly after she did get sick. So there was really no interaction, just that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I keep that with me because, you know, there was no direction in this first lady role. And I feel that had she been here, I would have had more of an instruction or more of just someone to show me.
Right.
And by her being, you know, sick, I don't know if that was God's way of saying, just be you. Mm-hmm. You know, don't look at her to see what you can mimic or what it's supposed to look like. Just be you. Mm-hmm. So so I'll go into that. Nissan has made it very comfortable for me to be me, and the members as well. So before Sister Janet, before she passed, I did still take on a first lady role like they looked at me as a first lady. And from the moment I came and joined this church, it has always been that. I have had no problems, no strife, nothing. Everything has been so comfortable and inviting. Mm-hmm. And I thank God for that. Yeah. I really and truly do, because it could, from the stories that I hear of first ladies and how they maneuver and how they operate, it has been so comfortable for me. And I thank God that transition was very pure. Yeah. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're blazing your own trail.
Thank you.
You're doing it your way. Yeah.
Thanks.
Pastor Dane.
Hey, what's going on?
When did you come to the church, and how did you end up becoming the youth pastor for GET?
So I was living in, LA, Studio City.
Yeah.
And I was looking up just different apostolic churches in the area, and I happened to come across GET. And the first thing that caught me was, man, this, if I could just be honest, this African-American church has a nice facility, a nice website, nice Facebook. So right away, I was just drawn to it.
Yeah.
Because, if we're just being honest, there's some churches that you see and you're just like, ooh, they don't really put a lot of effort into, making things look nice, The aesthetics aren't too important in some facilities. And over here, it was completely different. And I was like, man, and then I came here and I checked it out and I saw Pastor Nissan and saw how much of a hard worker he is, but also how chill he is. I didn't have to wear a suit every single Sunday. So in the LA heat, 95 degrees, wearing a black suit, I was not about that. So it's a different feel, different environment.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I've honestly really have enjoyed about this ministry. So me and Pastor Nissan, we talked about, me potentially coming on as a youth pastor. I liked his vision for the youth ministry. He liked mine. We connected. you know, and he's just been there to support us every step of the way. So it's been awesome. I'm enjoying it, and I'm just looking for all the stuff that's to come.
So when a pastor and a youth pastor get together and talk, what's the moments that you guys share that are very special to you all? Like, what's he like as your senior pastor, essentially?
Honestly, he's really, he's about his business, but he's very laid back.
Yeah.
So he's not the type of pastor that's hounding you. You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty in it, because, you know, I have a lot of friends in ministry, and they've had pastors that were just micromanaging them. Pastor Nissan with me, which has been great, is that, you know, yeah, he's definitely going to watch and make sure I'm doing what I'm doing and making sure things are flourishing. But he trusts me to, you know, take control of the ministry and to do what I need to do. So I think that's kind of been the beauty in the relationship with us, is that he trusts us. And sometimes I bring to him some crazy ideas. I'm like, hey, Pastor, I think we might do a Club Jesus where we're going to have, you know, a little bar, but we're going to be serving virgin drinks and some virgin mixers. Right. It's going to be dope. Mm-hmm. And he's on board. He's like, all right, let's do it. And most pastors would be like, no, we're not doing that. And pastor's like, hey, just let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. So I think that's the great part of, you know, being under the leadership of Pastor Nissan. It's dope. Yeah. I mean, we could really do whatever we want, as long as it's not, you know, crazy and ungodly. He's all about, you know, testing the waters in a godly way. Yeah. And that speaks volumes, because that's not how it is everywhere. A lot of places you can't do what you want. A lot of places you can't, you don't have the freedom to express yourself and try different things. And he's all about, hey, try it out. Let's try it. So it's dope.
I love it.
No complaints here.
So you all have heard about the past 55 years. I'm now going to open it up to our entire panel here. What stories have you heard over the past 55 years? Things that seem unusual, or some stories that you've heard that seem totally different from the way things are now?
I'll take that.
Marie, yes.
The most recent story I heard, and it took me out. I was tickled when they said that Bishop had this bell. And if people would talk too long or whatnot, if they were up there a little too long and tarried too long, he'd give them the wrap it up, like it's time to sit down bell.
It happened.
Listen, I wish I was there to see that, but that bell took me out. I was like, oh, we need a bell.
I can't confirm it happened.
It happened. Listen.
Can you think back to when you first joined the church, either that Sunday or that week, and then what made you come back?
So I'll talk on finding the church. Mm-hmm. Similar to Pastor Dane, I was searching a gospel group, and they were having a concert here. And I just decided I was looking for a church. I was looking for a church in that moment in my life. So I just Googled the church, and I saw pictures of the youth, and they would get dressed up. I think it was around anniversary time where you guys would have this big dinner or something. Mm-hmm. So the youth were dressed up in some of the pictures. It was just captivating. I loved what I saw. And then I'm like, okay, if I go and they sing the same songs I grew up with, and I feel like it's home and family, this might be it. And I was praying for something like that. So I came on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And the first person I saw was Carla, and she was, oh, hi, just so friendly. And we were at that door, myself and my twin brother. And we were like, is this the way to get in? She's like, no, but if you want to go in this way, you can. I said, no, we'll go the regular way. So we came, and we sat in the back. And Kiana and Erica Beavers, they were sitting behind us. And they sang the songs, Brother O'Neill, Deacon O'Neill, and Sister O'Neill. I knew every song, and I just felt like I was at home. Yeah. That was it for me. I was at home, and I came back. And I said, is there more of this? There's got to be more of this. So that's what brought me back.
Nice.
So one of the things that I used to come visit the church from time to time, because my sister-in-law had started going here years ago. And what I noticed about the bishop is that he would be sitting up here, and I'm the kind of person I watch everything, and just looking at Bishop Stewart, he'd be watching everything. He'd be up here scanning the whole congregation, and that's when I used to say, all right, I say, he's on top of this. And so that was one of the things and then he would meet us on the way out.
Yes, he
You know,
does.
just being able to
Shake every hand.
shake the pastor's hand on your way out of the church. Be able to, if you have something to say, you have those brief minutes to say it at that moment. It's just being able to have the freedom to worship and praise God for what he did for me.
I know when I found the church, I was in a place in my life where I was actually like seeking. I was searching and seeking, and I felt like I hadn't found what I was looking for. I sang at a few other churches, and I came here, and it felt like you could just feel Jesus. You know, I walked through those doors. I didn't see anybody yet. You could just feel it. You felt the presence of God, and I knew that this was it. And I said, when I got here, I said, I don't want to sing. Not yet. Like, I wasn't ready. I didn't want to sing just yet. I was like, I want to just hold on and wait. And I was grateful that nobody approached me, even though they knew, you know, like, yeah, I've been on worship teams. No one approached me to come sing. And it took a few months for me to get up on this stage. And then she finally came and was like, come on. But I was grateful that I got to sit and just soak it all in and just get fed, because I was looking for that. I was hungry for Jesus in that moment, and I got everything I needed literally as soon as I walked through those doors.
Wow.
I remember I too was also searching. I was searching for a church home down here. I had recently moved back to California and then moved away from my family down here to LA. And I've been to a couple of churches, just checking them out to see, you know, did I fit here? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And it was one Sunday morning that I really didn't want to get up. I didn't want to get up that morning to go to church, but I know I needed to go. And so I had one particular church that I had kind of just been going to because it was close by. And so I had found another church that was nearby. I looked up that church to confirm the address, and there was a flyer from their pastoral anniversary, and Pastor Nissan and the church had been there preaching weeks before. And so then from there, I started searching.
Come on, Google.
GET, and I too was drawn in by the website and the things that I saw there. So I jumped up, I came onto church. I was late, and I do not like being late. And then the fact that I had to walk down that aisle, and Pastor Nissan was up here preaching already. But when I walked in that first set of doors, and I got ready to come in the second set of doors, I was greeted by Sister Morgan, and she hugged me. She hugged me as if she knew me. I didn't know this lady from anywhere, and she didn't know me, but she hugged me like I already belonged here. So I came in, I sat down, I listened to the word that particular morning, and then I left knowing that I needed more. I wanted more. So I continued to come. And so then finally, I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 weeks after coming, I was formally introduced to Pastor Nissan, and he told me, he said, seek Jesus. If this is the place, you'll know. And when you're ready, come let me know. There was no pressure. Whereas the other churches I had been to, there was some pressure. Are you ready to join? Here's your card. Come on, let's go. And same thing for me, as Murray talked about. I didn't want to do anything when I got here. I wanted to sit and I wanted to learn. And that's what I did. And then slowly I was able to become involved in the women's ministry and then the young adult ministry. And I've been able to travel with the church. So it's been amazing. Yeah. It's been amazing.
I'm used to saying praise the Lord.
Go ahead.
Praise the Lord. Come on.
Praise the Lord, Sister Tammy.
Praise the Lord. Old school. Well, I've known about Greater Emmanuel Temple because I've been in the faith since I was a kid. So I've had a relationship over the past 30 years, but it was put on hold. So now I'm going through a transition in my life, and I need to make a decision of where I need to restart. And so I know I wanted somewhere safe for my son to be in Sunday school, within arm's distance, and in an environment where you trust the people to be on their best behavior when it's coming to your children. Also, I need my spirit to be fed. And just like they said, I needed to come to a place that wasn't going to, oh, I know what you could do. Oh, you do this, you do this. Okay, jump in. Like, no, I was at a point in my life where I needed to be poured into. I didn't have anything to give. I had nothing to give. It was time for the ministry to feed me.
Amen. Yes.
And so when I came to GT, no one pressured me. They greeted you. No one asked questions about where's your this, where's your that, where's your this. No one cared about that. They just cared that you were here to worship the Lord. And I appreciated that. And in my mind, I was saying, I'm going to take some time before I join. I checked out the noon Bible study. I checked out the Sunday school. I popped in, brought my son to the Sunday school class, Christian education. Now it's called Christian education. He loved it. They loved him. The worship service, the word of God comes over the pulpit. And you know what? That's so surprisingly what's different about GET now and the way I grew up in apostolic. We actually have church in less than an hour.
It can be done.
It's not rushed. It's not rushed. You still get fulfillment. But it just doesn't take as long as it did back in the day. And I love that.
Can I just say that God works in mysterious ways?
Yes.
Pastor Dane, seriously, Nissan was praying for a youth pastor. I mean, we've had a couple who we thought were it. But this time, Nissan prayed for a youth pastor. And I remember him telling me, oh, I have a guy named Dane, he's coming to meet me. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, finally, because we have a lot of kids here. You know, we needed somebody to address them and to give them exactly what it is that they needed. So I just thank God for you, Siobhan. You have given us years of great worship, great leadership, and I thank God for you too. I'm speaking on behalf of Nissan and I. But we have some of the best of the best here.
The best of the best.
And I thank God for all of it. I take none of it for granted. Every time I'm here on Sunday, I count it a blessing. We are really blessed here at GET.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
I just had to get that out there.
Stated, yes.
Well, thank you, First Lady.
Yes, thank you, First Lady.
Let me speak to when I first came. Like a lot of others, I did not want to do anything. But when I did join, it was like I'm in it. And I tried to give all of me. I did not know or ever think that I would be a worship leader.
Really?
Because I don't like to talk. Mm-hmm. That may be hard to believe, y'all, but I don't like to talk. I didn't like to hear my speaking voice. Now, I can sing both worship and leading a song with the choir. They're two different things. Two different things, and I didn't know how to do that, and I learned how to do that here. So they've seen me at the start of just, what is she doing? So they probably were thinking, say something, girl. I mean, you know, because I just would sing. I didn't even know how to speak. So I'm glad that I was able to develop that here. And I'm glad that I'm able to be a blessing and an asset and not just, she just singing. I'm glad that I'm able to bless others like GET has blessed me. So grateful for that.
Thank God for you, Siobhan.
To piggyback off of what you're saying, what I am is very grateful that you are our worship leader, because we've got some real moments. Y'all, especially since virtually doing all this, we have had some real, like, crying, full out, flat out, just real come to Jesus moments as a team. And what I love about this team and being a part of this team is that we're all connected in a different way. Like, it's such a real connection, and just our conversations and like during the prayer, like sometimes before we even when church is going on before we even come out here. Like, we've had like some real okay, we're about to pray, but it's not just prayer as usual. Like the Holy Spirit just floods everything that we're doing, and that's how we're able to just come out here and give y'all the most authentic praise that we've got. Like, it's true. We leave it all on the stage, and it's an amazing feeling to just be a part of that. It's good. I thank you for that. I'm grateful for you.
One of the things is that for me, I do want to be in service to the church that I'm a part of. And one of the things that when Pastor Nissan was so open, he's such an open man himself, is that I was able to approach him and just talk to him about a lot of different things that through my transitioning through several churches, being able to talk to him about certain things and some avenues we might be able to adventure into as a church. And one day he said, "Hey, Brother Larry, I want to speak to you upstairs." And I was like, okay. So I had to start like going through my mental Rolodex of, okay, what have I done
this time?
And I was just like, okay, I've been crossing my T's, dotting my I's. I've been good. And so he just took me upstairs, and he just started talking to me about some of the things that we had been talking about. And he had approached me about being a men's ministry leader. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Let me think about that, And like Pastor Dane said, is that he is not an ogre. He's not over you. He's not pressuring you to lead, but he's giving you room enough to lead. Mm-hmm. And if you need his support, or if you need anything from him, he's there for you, And I just appreciate that about Pastor.
Yeah.
What I like about the church here at GT is that I don't have to build anything. Everything is already built. I'm already standing and going along with a foundation that's already been laid out. GT is just a great place for no matter if you're a kid, if you're a young adult, if you're a seasoned saint, or if you want to just sit down and wait until God gives you the okay. Yeah. This is a great place for that.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I want to move into a phase where I talk about some of you all's talents and your gifts, and kind of what do you see going forward as your contribution that you continue to blaze the trail for the GET now?
For me, I know a lot of the youth or the younger kids, the girls especially, they love to sing. Any opportunity they get to be up on stage after church, they are up here. And then even my girls at home and then their cousins, they're always singing. So I would love to have a youth praise team to teach them how to worship now. Teach them how to lead people in worship now. So I can definitely see myself serving and pouring into that to bring them up.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think for me, just want to continue to be used by God to bring out the gifts and talents that he's put in our youth and young adults. Over the last year or so, we've had, our youth, they've given little mini sermons. They've been doing some singing. You can come and coach them and help them out and, develop a team. We would need that. We've done skits, plays. We actually even have a little mini rap music video. Yeah, right. I think me and Pastor Nielsen actually talked about having them come perform on a Sunday service. So we've just done a lot, and for me, I'm just really looking forward to just seeing our young people be used by God. The world can use their talents, but it's something when God uses their talents, and it brings glory back to him. So for me, that's what I'm really looking forward to. We got some talented youth and young, just people in general here, but our youth and young adults who are going to be this next generation.
You're right.
I'm looking forward to seeing some of our 15 and 16-year-olds leading worship on Sunday, and preaching sermons and just being used by God. So I'm excited about the future.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's good that we've got people with hearts that want to train them up. Like we said, you know, we learn from watching, but it's good that we have a generation now that we're like, no, we got to train them. We got to show them how to do it, lead by example. And I know, like, as far as my talents go, I'm always looking to serve when and where and however I can, because I know God's given me so many gifts, and wherever he can use me, like
in the kitchen too.
Listen, in the
Come
kitchen
on.
too.
Well, we have not talked about food yet, and we got First Lady with her amazing pickles. We've got Marae with her amazing cooking chef skills. So I want to throw that out there.
Thank you. There it is.
Your mac and cheese may not be better than mine,
Listen,
but
we can have a cook-off.
can we throw some pictures of mac and cheese? We will later on.
I'm hearing a GET cook-off is in the works.
Let's make it happen.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Let's not leave out Siobhan. Don't sit over there quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Siobhan.
Don't sit over there quiet. She's trying to get no.
Come on in, Siobhan.
Everything.
I like to showcase my taste buds, so go ahead.
There we go.
Go ahead, let God use you.
Then we got Get Fit, so after we eat all the food, we can go get fit, right?
There it is. Get fit.
For me, though, I wanted to just kind of, you enjoy music, don't you?
I do.
You do.
Yes, I really do.
And I just wanted just to say to you that, as they have already said, that you are a beautiful addition to the praise and worship ministry. Siobhan, your sound, your tone, your delivery is amazing. God is really using you to speak to me.
Amen.
When I tell you, I've told you before, you sing and it's exactly what my heart wants to say.
Amen.
And more. I thank God for you. I really do.
Amen. Glory.
So I want to give everyone a final word as we conclude to wrap up the 55 years for our church anniversary service. I will start with LaToya.
All right. So I just want to say, every member here collectively represents GET. We need each and every one of you in your amazing gifts, your humility. Every one of you, I see each and every one of you. I know a lot of you and have relationships with many of you. And I just want to say again, we all represent GET. Without you, there would be no GET. With each and every one of us up here, this is just a small amount. But the ones that are out there that I know, I see you. And you represent GET. And GET is what it is because of all of you. And I am so grateful to God for each and every one of you. And I cannot wait to see the future of GET, because this is nothing. GET, get ready.
Yes.
Get ready.
Yes.
I would say one thing that I really, really love about GET, and I'm sure everybody up here has experienced it as well, is really just the spirit of excellence that GET has. But the presentation and the spirit of excellence that Pastor Nissan puts out there, and I think a lot of it has to even do with just his involvement in the music industry and knowing what's going on and knowing what looks good, because our stuff, thank the Lord, it sounds great. And I am not afraid to share it ever, because, I mean, you're going to either hear a good word from our pastor or you're going to hear some good worship. So the spirit of excellence that just goes throughout GET, throughout all of our members, so many entrepreneurs, people just on the rise and grinding and working hard. That's just something that I love so much about this church. Personally, it challenges me to even just professionally and spiritually just grow and get higher and go further. Seeing, being around even like Brother Cameron, and just seeing so many just different people who are just so driven and focused.
There's a strong entrepreneurial spirit here at this church.
Yes, it is.
It's so strong. So for me, I love it. This is a church that is making me a better husband, better preacher, father, and just overall person. So GET, I mean, we're going forward, and 10 years from now, I can't even imagine how many different buildings we're going to own and have. It's just going to be something.
The reach.
It's going to be wild. When you just listen to Pastor Nissan and all the different things that he has planned, like, he's a go-getter. He's not one to just like sit
Yes,
down and
yes,
chill.
yes.
And he is a go-getter team, which also helps out with it. We're all just like, look, let's the sky's the limit. Let's just go as high and let's do as much as we can. So stay tuned, GET family, and everybody else. I mean, we are on the move, and I'm just telling you, there's so many great things in store, and just wait. God bless you.
Yes.
That's good. For anybody watching this who doesn't belong to GET, if you're looking for family, it's here. And like in any family, they got some people who know to leave you alone when they need to leave you alone. Like we never felt pressured. They know when to bring you in and wrap their arms around you when you need that. Everything you need in a family is here at GET. And I came when Bishop Stewart was here, and I got to experience him, and he just loved me immediately. He showed concern for me, just like Nissan does for the people here. So the family, the love, it has remained, and I don't think it will ever go away. And with this dope group of people, we're going to make sure we do our part, right, to continue that love, continue that family, because that's what brought us here, I think, or what made us come back here. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
It's family. We can leave you alone. We can love on you. We can, whatever you need, it's family here.
Yeah.
It is.
And sorry to interject, can we also just give a thank you to our First Lady, who continues to press and push on and just do so many amazing things for the ministry. My wife, she loves you to death. She looks up to you as the First Lady, and one day she'll be a First Lady down the line, and she loves your style, who you are as a person. Our family loves you, our kids love you, and we know that what Pastor Nissan is doing without you, I mean, we don't know.
Right.
So you guys are just such a wonderful team. You guys complement each other so well, and we're just so grateful for you, First Lady, and our pastor.
Yes.
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 Amen.
Yes. Yes.
That's very heartfelt. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I have to say family as well. Walking through those doors, I didn't realize how broken I was in the moment. And even though I went through some more brokenness, this family has put their arms around me and loved me. Not only me, but my family. My mom comes to visit, and she's family. She loves each and every one of you. You know she loves you, Siobhan. You have sang us through some of the hardest moments in our life recently. And we are so grateful for your spirit and just being you.
I'm grateful, like overwhelmed with gratitude just to be here. And I love our bonds and our connects and our sisterhoods and just all around togetherness that we have, because it operates, like you said, everybody has their own role, everybody has their own part, every ministry, and it just comes together so, like, just it's the cohesiveness of it all. It's good. We gel well, we mesh well, from the leadership all the way to the kids. Like, it's a good thing here. We've got a great thing going on. And yes, come check us out, because we getting it. GET is getting it, and y'all need to come get some.
I'm really not a person to ask someone, like, say, sell something. I'm not a salesperson. But when you've eaten something that's good, it sells itself.
Come on now.
So it's like, I'm not trying to convince you to come to GET because of this, because of that. I'm telling you, like, you need to get a taste. You have to get a taste for yourself. And here, I've tasted excellent Bible study. I've tasted excellent Christian education, not just talking about the Bible. I participated in the financial freedom, which was, I was so shocked that a church, apostolic, a Pentecostal, Holy Ghost filled church would allow you to actually get knowledge about something outside of the temple so you can get better.
Yeah.
Get your finances in order. I was so shocked. So tasted that. Tasted Bible study at nighttime. Tasted the preaching. Tasted the friendly environment with the older people. We have the old school people still here. You got the new school people. You got the people in between. And then, most importantly, if you get here after 10:01, you late. You are late. The parking lot is already filled up, so you need to park down the street. So, hint, get here 15, 20 minutes ahead of time because we do countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, taste and see.
Oh, that hour of power. Come on. Yes.
Amen. I'm just so grateful for GET still being here for 55 years and now in this community. Because over the time I've been here, we've seen the vision of the outreach still for the community. And it's just a great thing to know that this ministry has a vision for the community that it is a part of.
See, what did I tell y'all? This is GET family. This is GET strong. This is GET now. So with that, happy 55th anniversary, GET.
Woo! Yes! 55!
Wow, what an amazing journey and such a powerful legacy.
I concur with that. Listen, God has been good to each and every one of us. Over the last 55 years, we have done some amazing things, and we give honor to my parents, Bishop Carl and Lady Janet Marie Stewart, who have done amazing things. But I have to salute each and every one of you, the membership of this church, whether in the past or now. You have graced us with your presence, with your love, with your energy, with your resources, with your ideas, with your finances, and this church is still standing because of you. So I say thank you.
Wait.
Yes.
Don't forget about that announcement.
Oh, yes. We have a special announcement. I've been talking about this for the past 2-3 years of what we were going to do concerning feeding people in this community, and I am excited to bring to you the news that we have finally started the remodeling of our kitchen and the fellowship hall area. That's right, the new bathrooms, the kitchen is underway. It's going to be state of the art so that we can feed those out there and also have wonderful dinners ourselves. So it is going down. So listen, if you want to sow into this ministry because of what we're doing, I invite you to. All of our tithers, all of our givers here, you know what it is at Greater Emmanuel Temple. We believe in being good stewards with the D over the work of the ministry. So we're going to another level. And when we come back after this pandemic, it's going to be something like you've never seen here at Greater Emmanuel. So I'm excited. I know you're excited. So we just say thank you and we love you. We'll see you soon. But wait, don't go nowhere. We're going out with the bang because our wonderful, wonderful music ministry is about to take us out of here. Y'all, we love you. Goodbye. We'll see you later.
If you would like to sow into what Greater Emmanuel Temple is doing here in Linwood, we have 4 ways for you to do so. First, you can give on our mobile app. Just type Greater Emmanuel Temple into your app store, hit download, and then give. Next, you can give online at our website at greateremmanuel.org/donate. Or you can give on Cash App at $GETFAM. Lastly, you can give by texting GetFam to 1-888-364-4483. Thank you for your gift. We look forward to seeing you on our online weekly services.
Can you type in the comment section that he's all right with me? Come on. We gonna celebrate. We out of here, y'all. But we gonna do this last number. You should know it. Can you clap your hands right where you are? Come on. Come on. Come on. Y'all ready? Where you at? Come on, say. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right with me. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right with me. What you say? He's all right. He's all right. He's all right. But one day,